hop consumes me like strawberry blues, like the muse of Langston Hughes, like Maya Angelou's bard, caging my mind into a fuse of words of different hues and sounds of decrypted melodic tunes of the beat, of the rhythm of hip hop. Hip hop consumes me like strawberry blues, leaving me clutching onto straws or flashes of its grandmasters to realize that the KRS is one, or cross is one. Unfortunately, it most definitely is. Tadlib Common, Ukweli, the nasty gurus that got cranked into mainstream are removing all consciousness from the depth, from the power of hip hop. Hip hop consumes me like strawberry blues and like a drug addict in the rehab, yet with no power to kick the habit. I find you hidden from airwaves like Lupe's fiasco, stashed into compact discs, for I must inhale you into my lungs, let you into my brain. You, pure, strong, heavy like an aphrodisiac, you get me all high and phloetic to the gospel of hip hop. That was the poem Hip Hop from my collection Minds and Minefields. You can find it. You can find my first collection of poetry either on Amazon or any of the local bookstores. So I felt it was great for me to start with that poem because I have a fellow hip hop head in studio. I have Sam Ombasa,
Yeah.
also known as Sam the Digga.
Yeah,
And
pleasure.
Sam, karibu sana.
All right.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
Sam lives, plays, collects, listens, and shares records. He is, I think, one of Kenya's most underrated DJs. That's my opinion. It's my show, so I'm allowed to voice my opinion. And I'm really excited to have you. And as we were talking, and you're talking about your love for music and love for hip hop, I was like, damn, I thought I know my stuff, and there's always an opportunity to learn, and I'm really glad to have you on
Yeah,
in studio.
I appreciate.
So, and today we'll be discussing everything around vinyl collection, music, playing, critiquing, and everything in between. So, before we start, I'd just like to mention that, as always, this episode and this season of season 2 of Kenyan Poets podcast is proudly supported by Unique Kenya. So, Sam,
Yeah.
let's start with growing up and your early influences for music.
Yeah.
Like, how far back do you remember, and what was that moment or that song that sort of ushered you into the world of music?
Wow, you're taking me back. You're taking
Let's
me
go
back.
back, way back,
Yeah,
back
yeah.
into time. Yeah.
Yes. So I grew up around Kawangware. Like that's where those are the first memories I remember. Somewhere in Kawangware, and I think most people at that time were into music. Like I can remember all my neighbors. I think I even took note of what all my neighbors were playing. I knew there was a guy that only played Bob Marley when he was at home. There
How
was
far
a
back are we talking? Are we talking
These are the 80s.
80s?
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. So
okay, all right.
yeah, I remember I remember, but I think also my dad might have played a role subconsciously without knowing, but because my dad used to have like a lot of cassette tapes, and when he was at home he had to be playing music in his room but loud enough for us to catch it. So as far as like what first got me into music, I don't even know. I think I just liked the sounds in general, but I started to identify with whatever I'm listening to currently. I might have started to pick it up as I was in high school.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
okay.
when I started like having a definitive path, like of what I've been listening to, and I always grow. I don't always listen to the same stuff. Like I try to have an open mind when it comes to like my ears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's the experience for a lot of people. And I think there's a research that has been done that, sort of speaks to what you are saying, that the music of our youth,
Yes, yes.
is because it is the time you're coming into your own. You're becoming your own person. You're
Yeah.
defining who you are,
Yeah.
self-actualization, and things like that. And so the music that you listen to then sort of has a huge impression because it's marking moments, very big milestones in your life. And so,
Yeah, yeah.
and when you think about it, even now, much later, as you grow older, you always tend to go back to.
Yeah.
And you become like our parents who say, oh, our time, the music during our time was the
Yeah.
best music, and we don't
Yeah.
know this
Yeah.
kind of music that you're listening to. And I'm sure you found yourself, saying the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And just talking about early musical influences, like what kind of do you remember what kind of music you the early musical influences?
I think early musical influences were dictated by what was being played on radio
Oh,
at
yes.
that time.
And that's
Cause
when we had one channel
yeah,
before
yeah,
before
basically,
FM.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The one that had a time when the station would open and
And a
shut.
closing time.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So, um, I would say that as I'm like at primary school level or nursery school or whatever, South African music was the shit. Am I allowed to
They
curse?
had nuts. Okay, it's not a family show. Yes, and which
Yeah,
reminds me, like,
yeah.
did you listen to a lot of Chico Chikaya? Do you
All
remember?
those. Like I'm telling you, my dad had cassette tapes. So my dad had like he had like a stack of like South African music, all that Yvonne Chaka Chaka stuff, all that.
Yes.
So I think yeah. I think that was what I listened to when I was young, pretty much. But then
Okay.
there was also Lingala. There was a lot of that Lingala music, and then there was country music, and then there was 80s music, like 80s soul music. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
those were like early influences, and Benga as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay.
Mm,
Okay. Sort of similar. There's a place where we,
mm,
I resonate with a lot of that.
mm.
And when was your interest in vinyl sparked?
I think
Because you've talked of cassette tapes.
yeah.
And that was basically our experience in the 80s and the 90s, and the cool kids
Yeah,
had what were they called? Was the Walkman? Was the Walkman playing cassette, or what was it
yeah. I
playing?
was playing
So
cassette
yeah, so the
tapes.
cool
Yeah,
kids were having Walkmans.
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, um, when I grew up, vinyl was like the format at that time. Like I think there was a neighbor of mine called Henry. We would go to his home and he would play for us like mostly Congolese music, but on a tiny Sanyo portable uh, record player. But he would play basically that. The thing was at that time, like I think I don't know, but I think we Kenyans are pretty good consumers of technology. So whatever is state of the art
Yeah.
is what people are quick to pick, and then you're like, okay, now I have a tape player.
Yeah, so it hasn't started with the mobile phones. It started way back.
Yeah, like
Okay, yeah,
like
that's
okay, I
fascinating.
regret
Yeah.
that my dad didn't have a vinyl collection. He does have a tape collection, but he had a vinyl. So for the thing for him was maybe perhaps he found people already had vinyl, and when tapes came, apparently in our village, he was the first person who ever had a cassette tape player. So yeah. So
Yeah.
I actually regret that he didn't have a vinyl collection. So whatever collection I have right now is like it's basically me just going and looking for stuff. So I didn't like pick anything off. I didn't inherit anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when I grew up, vinyl was like the popular format. and I can just say I can just say what made me start collecting vinyl was a nostalgia. Yeah, yeah, was a nostalgia
Yeah.
basically, because I actually remember, like, if you went to a household, you would find some vinyl. So for me, I think that my journey basically started with the nostalgic aspect of it, and I also liked the noise, the surface noise of vinyl. I really love that.
Just
So
before a record starts playing and that sort
yeah.
of, okay, okay.
So in
Yeah.
my weird mind, I'm like, that's a coded message. Yeah, if we need to find someone who will break it down for us, what that means. Are they? Is that some sort of alien language or something? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting you say that because for me, my love for vinyl, and it's the same thing. I remember it was my uncle. So I have and he's still up to this day quite eccentric.
Yeah.
And even back then, he was quite eccentric because he was really into technology, but at the same time, he was buying. He
Okay.
used to have a huge collection of vinyl, and his music taste, he used to listen to a lot of Camaro,
No, no,
Joseph
Camaro,
Camaro, but
legit.
he also had quite a lot of 60s, and I think that's where my love for 60s soul musicians and artists like Percy Sledge or Nana Mouskouri or what's his name? He's a Greek artist, and I think he's played a lot on Sundowner. I'm forgetting his name. So a lot
Okay.
of my interest, and there's a time I spoke to someone, and they're like, "How old are you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I was in my 20s," and I'm telling him the kind of music I listen to and I like, and
Yeah.
he's like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
And I, my love for vinyl started back then,
Mhm.
and for me it was, I used to find that whole experience of listening to music very immersive. Like, you set everything aside. For me it wasn't passive. It's you see it, you put a record on, and you just listen.
Yeah, yeah,
And for me it was that sound, and just what you were saying,
yeah.
the way the sound, the sound that comes on before the
Yeah.
song starts
Yeah,
playing,
yeah.
and even after that, for me has so much. There's something that it does to me, and I really can't explain it. So it's really interesting that you've said that, because I think for a lot of people, that nostalgia is what they keep going back to.
Okay.
And I find it weird that people don't go back to cassettes. People don't. People
No,
do, do
no, no,
people
no.
have?
There's a huge cassette community,
Oh, there is.
apparently. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and I would also want to fit into that space.
Does
I actually have a Walkman.
it still work?
No, I repaired it. It's working.
Oh.
Yeah, so I would I also would like to, like, own a decent cassette collection,
Yeah.
but I think vinyl is much more accessible right now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now let's talk about your, and I don't know where this ones will so they'll meet somewhere in the middle, but let's talk about your genesis, the genesis for your love of hip hop,
Okay.
and how did you sort of find yourself gravitating naturally
Towards hip hop,
towards?
yeah. Um, Back when we had that one station, there was a program called Music Time, presented by Freddie Obachi Machoka.
Oh,
You know him?
yes, I know Fred Obachi. Yeah,
Yeah, so
like.
the thing I liked about him is that he had an eccentric taste. Like, he would try to play every genre that he could find, whether it was Cameroonian music of Utna, and some reggae, some hip hop. He would play at least one track, but then I think it got cemented more because I think I used to watch also when we had the second station coming in.
Yes,
There was this guy called Jimmy
I
Gatham.
remember.
So he had like programs, musical
And they were
shows that
themed,
were,
eh?
yeah, they were themed. So the Monday one was the hip hop one.
That was rapper,
Rap M.
Rap Him.
Yeah.
So there was Rap Him,
Rastrat.
Rastrat,
And then,
Jamadelic.
yes,
The other one was what?
Cascas.
Oh,
I don't know what it was called. The one for African music.
I think it was okay. I can't remember, but I think it was Cas Cas.
No,
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 it
no, no.
wasn't.
I think we are confusing ourselves with there was a subgenre called Cas.
Oh yes,
Yeah, I think
I'll I'll remember,
we will
but
Google it. So
uh-huh.
so what happened was there's a brother that follows me that was like a reggae diehard. So but him, he was also a good. He was also into music. So I think I don't know how, but I identified with hip hop more. So we always had a rivalry. So on Monday the TV would be mine, and then on when was Rastrat? I don't know, Wednesday. I think the
Yeah, it
TV
used to
would
be on
be his.
Wednesdays. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I started listening to more hip hop after rapping. And I actually appreciate me listening to hip hop then because, at that time, hip hop was like relatively new. And, some songs have to grow in you for you to like them. But that thing of something growing you for you to like taught me something. So right now, if I hear something and I've never heard it before, I will not like dismiss it at first. I will give it 2 or 3 listens to see what it's about.
Yeah.
And I think that also has given me appreciation for music that came prior to hip hop that hip hop was sampling off, especially jazz.
Oh
Like
yes.
especially jazz. Like I remember I used to be confused by jazz because I didn't understand what the hell was going on. But I think
Yeah.
after me learning to appreciate a song after listening to it more than 1 or 2 times, because if you listen to a song once or twice, you might actually start to break down some elements within that song, and you might like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I started picking interest for more genres as I was listening to hip hop. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting that you say that because for me, yes,
Sorry,
yes,
that's around 91, 92,
92.
93.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting that you say that because, well, for me, I was, uh, that's around the same time that, yes, I was watching, I was always looking forward to those music shows. And I think for me, it was not so much, going towards one, but like, oh, there's all this um, and all these different genres of music and I think it was good for, as you say, to immerse yourself in as many genres of music as possible so that wherever you gravitate to, whatever else exists out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And you talking about where your love for hip hop started. I think for me, I remember distinctly is when, and I don't know, when did the Fugees album, the
Come
score,
out. The score, I
was
don't
it,
know. It's around 90 what? 90,
must have been early 90s, yeah? So
90, I think around 94, 95.
94, 95.
Yeah.
Yes. So 94, 95.
Yeah.
94, I had just finished primary school. I was going to high school.
Oh.
And that, for me, that album, every song in that album,
That's a pivotal album.
and
Yeah.
for me,
Indie.
it answered everything about why I resonated so much with I resonated so much with hip hop because now looking back much later and into my writing and poetry, I was like, there is something here.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like the source is the same, like where the origin is the same. It's just that now for them it's on a beat, but then I was like, that's poetry.
Yeah.
And so my love now for hip hop, now you find that the kind of hip hop artists that I tend to listen to are those that you can tell there's more than just the rapping for the rapping sake. Yeah. So
There's like a deeper.
there's a story to it.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's why anytime, and I'm sure I will ask you this question. I know I hadn't sent it to you before, but and this sort of the hip hop world is always drawn between the two, Tupac and Biggie.
I'll just say Tupac.
Why Tupac?
Yeah, I don't know. I just tend to think the fact that he was able to his music had some different characters to it. At times he would be like the Black Panther type guy, and at times he's just like a normal type person. So I like that he had that in him. I think he had a deeper mission than just being an entertainer. So I think his music could easily spark revolutions if he wanted to. Like he could get political if he wanted to, off his poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like about Pac. I like Biggie as well, but I tend to like Pac
Yeah,
more.
to move towards that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and that's a debate that a lot of hip hop lovers have had, and what you're saying is about basically he was quite versatile, and he
Yeah.
was able to he could be mellow. It's just like DMX. He could be mellow. He could be very he could be very political at the same time. If he wanted to be vulgar, he could be quite vulgar. And so let's so now that we're talking about, we've already gone to Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah.
So if I was to ask you to pick like your top 5 favorite rappers.
Top 5 favorite rappers. Why are we doing this? Oh, anyway, I was having a discussion with you prior to when we started this,
Yes.
and I was telling you I'm into like people who are really eccentric or weird with what they're doing. So right now, I love the late MF Doom, Quasimodo, Madlib, all these like experimental people. I'm into that type of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And talking of which, I had asked that we bring our LPs,
Yeah,
some of our LPs. So I'd like you to. So I have my collection here, and there's a story. Though I picked the very top ones, but yes, each and every one of them has a story. And I'd like you to start with yours.
with mine.
Yes. Just we'll take a short time to just give the backstory of, I'm sure people say this LP spoke to me. Like when I went to, when I was crate digging or looking for something, I saw this and I was like, I have to get that. There must have been a reason why you got it.
Yeah.
Yes. So we can start with yours.
Okay, cool. Well, let me get mine.
Yes, we can place them here.
Oh, sorry, I knocked the mic. Now, to begin with, I have this Brothers Johnson. It's
And I
basically
was saying I don't know who they are.
yeah. But then I had to remind you of a track which I know you know.
Yes.
So well, I like this because it reminds me of one of my favorite movies. I was telling you that Pulp Fiction with the song Strawberry Letter 23. And the thing I like about this music is the engineering behind how they produce this. Like I just love how it sounds. There's like, I don't know, the reverbs, the echoes in the production. It's brilliant. I like it. And well,
You
my
can
s-
skip some if you
Okay,
want to. Yeah.
okay.
Then we can pick the
my
top
my
3.
second pick right now is this, done by some Dodo women. It was produced in part by my friend called Jojo Uma. He
All
does
right.
a lot of benga music, so this is like African traditional vibe. I like it. Luo music.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then this is George Clinton. I basically love this album because of the artwork. It's expressive. And then
So the artwork, as I was mentioning just before we got on set, seems
Yeah.
to have been inspired, and it's even actually called computer games.
Yeah.
So he must have been really like he must have
Yeah.
played a lot of computer games when
Yeah, and
he was
actually, if
growing
you
up,
look
and
at
so
them, you're like, well, he was forward thinking.
yeah.
Yeah.
And something that we were saying about this is that. And I'd like you to talk about that. The song that he did called "Atomic Dog."
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
So maybe you can mention that briefly. So
Mm.
for the Snoop Dogg fans out there
Oh
who are
yeah.
not familiar with George Clinton,
Yeah. Okay. Well, it could be a deeper discussion because that's in reference to sampling, right?
yes.
So Snoop actually, I don't know who produced the song by Snoop. So, but it samples Atomic Dog. Yeah, it's almost like if you listen to it, there's not much of a difference.
Yeah.
Like yeah, there's not so many loops or whatever. But yeah, I think that West Coast sound was influenced by funk, and particularly West Coast type funk, the Bootsy Collins and the George Clintons and all that. And it's a unique sound. It's a laid back sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I like
Great.
it. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Cool. I think we'll pick the final one, and then I can pick mine.
okay, okay. So now I'll just group this together. This is what I like about these artists is that they are independent and very experimental, and their music is like, I don't know how to describe it, but I like it because it's free. I mean, you just do what you want to do. If you want to rap, you rap. You don't have to listen to execs and whatever. You just do your thing. So my three picks for this like sort of categories is MF Doom, MM Food. If you've listened to this, you know what it's about. And then there's my favorite character, Quasimodo, the bad character. And there's another by MF Doom, but under the title King Ghidra. It's called "Take Me to Your Leader." Yeah.
All right. Great. So
And maybe let me just
Yes.
discuss this.
all right.
This is like Tabule Rocheron.
Oh yes, we're talking about that.
I love this record. There's a neighbor of mine. There's a neighbor of I usually collect records from like different sources or under different situations. So what happened was there's a guy who came to my house and I had two backpacks, and he wanted one. He was like, well, since you like records, I have some old records I can bring you, and then you give me that bag. So he brought me a couple of records, but they are mostly rumba records or lingala records or whatever you might call them. So the record he gave me, what they were using them for was basically to decorate their rooms. So they were busted. However, I did wash it and I played it. So I liked it because if you listen to this album, they're not actually singing. They're just playing instruments. So it sort of has a jazzy edge to it.
Okay.
So I spent a couple of years looking for this record, like a cleaner version of it. So I finally found this at Jimmy's, and I had to like leave a deposit and save some money to get this.
So you go back for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
that's-
we'll talk about Jimmy's. That's Rugami's. One of the biggest record stores, and you've worked in. So we'll talk about that shortly as we look at this vinyl community. How big is it? Where do you get your records and things like that?
Yeah.
But I'd like to I'd like to start with this. Yeah, so this is 1999 by Prince. So this so I'm a huge Prince fan, and this record has Little Red Corvette. I'm sure you know it. It has it has International Lover, and it has Delirious, and it also has 1999. So the backstory to this is in 2019, I happened to go to the US, Minnesota. I was invited to go teach poetry to some fourth graders and fifth graders. And it just so happens to be his hometown. And so whoever was hosting me, I told them I'm a huge vinyl collector and I'm looking for places. So can you tell me? And he's like, oh, we should go to where Prince used to go buy his music. And this is where I got it. And it was, I mean, it's one of those, I think I got this and I think I got about 3 LPs from him. And it's one of those things that, you have the history, and now your love for the music now just has a longer story because now you feel you've lived that experience. So I really love this record. Then this one, this is Smokey Robinson. And the record is called Where's the Smoke? And I really like that.
You love the title.
I love the title. Now, this, the reason why I love this record is because I got introduced to Smokey Robinson through, and I'm forgetting his name. So he did the cover of Cruising, D'Angelo. So I actually got to know the song Cruising from D'Angelo, only to learn later that the original was done by Smokey Robinson. But I had listened to Smokey Robinson, him doing other songs. There's some other songs like My Girl, he's done My Girl. But then this one for Cruising, that was a total shock for me. So when I saw this and I saw Cruising is there, I was like, I have to get this. Then I think De La Soul.
Yeah. No, I was telling you before. I'm just looking at your stash, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going with this. This I would like to keep. That jazz record. Can you show us?
Yes, this by Jonathan Butler. Sorry, I didn't show this about Heal the Land. And the interesting thing about this particular record, and I'll come back to the De La Soul, is that I got to watch Jonathan Butler perform when he came to because he did, I think, about 2 or 3 years ago. And so I was buying this record when I had already watched his performance. I was like, I have to get this because he's South African. And he has quite a story about him because he started off playing jazz, and then he transitioned from playing what you'd call just Afro jazz, and he transitioned and I started playing Christian jazz. So he does that, and I find that really interesting. All right. So then there's De La Soul. So this is. I mean, they sort of a mix between neo soul, because I'm a huge fan of neo soul and hip hop, and I just found their kind of music very eccentric, and I like that. So we won't. No,
hold on. Yes. And by the way, we have to celebrate the fact that they finally own their own masters now. They've been having lawsuits against the owner of Tommy Boy. I think a month ago, they were finally they own their masters. They can make money now.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Because you're a hip hop addict like me, right? You probably know that a lot of these artists had bad deals. So they had a bad deal. So they
and there's so many who had that.
I'm just glad that you brought up the De La Soul, because we have to celebrate that they finally get to make something out of it. Yeah.
And I mean, speaking as a creative, it's really there's something so wrong about. Like, let's say I write my poetry, but then because of the platform where I published it, someone says, no, you don't own the copyrights to that poem. Yes, we know you wrote it, but you can't do anything with it. If you want to put it on T-shirts or if you want to put it on mugs, you can't do that. And that's the same. And that's the same.
You heard the latest song from Lauryn Hill, the Nas featuring Lauryn Hill. What is it called? Nobody.
Yes.
Yeah, we mentioned they don't do the labor, but they want the Yeah,
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 which is really sad.
yeah.
So I mean, I'll just show them. So I have Isaac Hayes, Live at the Sahara,
Beautiful
and
album.
yes,
Beautiful
this is a
album.
beautiful album. So for the what is it called? Flash,
Shaft.
Shaft,
Yeah.
for the Shaft fans out there.
Yeah.
So this has the theme for Shaft,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll finish with this. So this, and I was telling you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a
Mm-hmm.
really, it's a really sad story. So I got to know. When A Man Loves a Woman became popular, it was playing on KBC,
Mm-hmm.
but then it was the Michael Bolton version, which
Mm.
I think he won a Grammy for,
Yeah.
and so it was in his album. I think it's called Soul Provider. But
Mm-hmm.
then I didn't know that Percy Sledge
Mm.
was
The
was the
original.
original thing,
Mm.
and I think it was done, like the way that I came to learn that the way it was done was like purposeful, because
Mm-hmm.
Michael Bolton, when he was receiving the award, he didn't even acknowledge. He didn't say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge Percy Sledge." So when I finally got to know that Percy Sledge had done it,
Mm-hmm.
and it just I became very emotional about it. And now anytime that I want listening to that version, it just sort of created a different perception about,
Yeah.
only for me to realize that
Mm.
that's been the history.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. It
yeah.
goes back to our earlier De La Soul conversation. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
But I mean, it's
yeah.
great to be able to own this.
Mm,
So, for someone who is interested in buying records, where
mhm.
do you get yours, and where can someone get?
It depends.
Because I'll tell you, most of this, I think I've only bought like uh, three or four from Jimmy, and
Mhm,
that's he's at and I've visited Jimmy a couple of times. He's at Kenyatta Market, but a
mm.
lot of this I actually buy when I'm traveling.
Okay,
So
all right.
you go to a record store and they have no interest. So
Mhm.
you'll be surprised. Some of these I was buying them for, I don't know, $5,
All right,
ten
all right, all
dollars,
right, all right.
and
Mhm,
yeah. So
mhm.
where do you get yours?
Well, I can see a variety of sources, but my main source would be at Jimmy's store, which
Okay.
is called Real Vinyl Guru at Kenyatta Market.
Mm-hmm.
So, you just want me to mention or tell you stories?
I mean, if someone is interested, I'm sure whoever is still. I mean, someone who's watching this, like, I mean, I have someone who I have collectors, and also I also want to increase my
Cool, cool,
collection.
cool, cool.
Yes.
So I actually started buying some records before I even had it on a turntable to play them on.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was telling you, I sort of had nostalgia for it. So what happened is, one time, me and some friends went to Kenyatta Market to to have nyama choma, and I'm sitting there and I'm hearing jazz music, which I like. I'm like, where's that jazz music coming from? So
From
I,
one of the most unlikely sources,
yeah,
like
yeah,
Kenyatta Market. If you've been to Kenyatta
yeah,
Market,
yeah,
then you
yeah,
know what we're
yeah.
talking about.
So I approached the sound, and I ended up at Jimmy's shop. By that time, he had like a tiny store.
Okay.
Yeah, and he had like just one shelf of records. But that's how that was around 2010 or no, 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 around 2000 and what?
Mm-hmm.
2009 there.
Okay.
So, I mean, we've been through a lot, and it's a continual journey, and I still buy records from him.
Mm-hmm.
That's one source, but that's like my main source. You can also you can also go to town. There's Melodica.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
in City Center.
yeah, you've been
Okay.
there.
Melodica, yes. Is that the one on Moy?
It's an old shop. Actually, used to be a record label.
Okay.
So I think he mostly did tarab and some benga music.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go there, you find Abdul. He's also a cool guy. You can find some records there, and some other sources would be like, if things that you stumble into, like someone has records and you didn't know. Actually,
Yes.
let me even tell you, my first original source for records. I used to live in Kibera, the slums, at some point in my life, and there's the railway line that cuts across the slums, right? So if you at some point, if you pass through the slums, there's a lot of like would you call flea market idea type vendors. They sell really weird stuff. What happened is Ngong Road has changed a lot, right?
Yes.
New buildings have come up, the old ones are gone. So what happens is most of the stuff that is sold on that railway line was actually stuff from the houses that were brought down. So so all those fundis who bring down stuff and don't know what to do with it, they take it to the railway line. It could be an old sink. It could be some old construction stuff or whatever, household items, cups, whatever. And amongst those things were actually records. So my first collection actually came from I don't have any that I got from there right now, but I have some good records that came off the railway. And the best thing about buying things off the railway, they were too cheap.
Because
Yeah.
they don't know what it is they have with them.
Yeah. You'd be like, I just want to decorate my room with this. How much is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
I don't even have do you have something that plays it with? No.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are some of my sources, but I've also as well through friends I've imported some records. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if it's something really rare and I really want and I have no clue where to get it and I can see it online, I can try and buy it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we conclude, then I'd like to know. I'd like us to talk about your DJing, because I have listened to your mixes. I think I follow you on Mixcloud, and I've watched your mixes on YouTube, and I noticed that you mix using vinyl.
Yeah.
And there's only one other person that I know who does that. That's DJ Adrian.
Oh yeah.
How, like, first of all, where did you get all those records to complete a set? If, like, let's say you're doing a whole hour, a 1 hour set, and what is the experience like? And like, it's one of those rare things, because nowadays you go to a club and the DJ just has a laptop and that's it. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, to add on to your comment,
Yeah.
I think there's quite a few. There's more than me, or there's a few more vinyl enthusiasts that actually play vinyl, apart from me and Adrian. There's like my personal friends who also play as well. So we have like a group. I have a group called Create Society, and then they have a group called Nairobi Soul Club. They mostly focus on like soul music.
Okay.
So that's one. But actually, if now we've spoken about my introduction into vinyl, and now my my introduction to like playing vinyl or DJing with vinyl is another story as well. Yeah. So how do we have time?
A few minutes, yes.
Cool. So what happened was there's a period in my life between 2005 and 2009 or 10 that I call the dark ages for me. I don't know what was going on, but I was out of touch with music and all this. And it's after 2010 that now I woke up from the slumber or whatever was going on.
Yes.
So I think at that time I also became I started looking at internet clips, and the journey for me to DJ came from the fact that I loved Dilated Peoples, the group,
I know them.
the West Coast group, right? So the thing with Dilated People was they incorporated one member is a DJ, he's called DJ Babu. So what happened was one time I was looking at the internet and I was like, since when I'm listening to dilated, I only hear two rappers. So where's the
What is
third
the other
guy?
one
What
doing?
yeah, what is he doing? So I started studying him, and I actually found that he's a DJ, so he does all the scratches in the music. So if you listen to most dilated projects, they are heavy on scratch. But then I decided to read further. So as I was reading, I discovered he's actually not just an average guy that will take a record and play and that's it. No, he actually was a battle DJ.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then I was like, okay, so there's battling. I didn't know. So I decided to study it as well. So I started looking at DMC clips. There's a competition called DMC, and there's a competition called ITF, I think, as well, International Turntable Federation or something. I don't know. So if you look at those clips from the 80s into the 90s, you will see the most creative aspect of DJing you will ever see. And all of it was on vinyl. So that's when now I decided
Something clicked.
at this point I have like 30 records. So at this point I was like, maybe I can try and be Babu. So I started collecting more records and I started looking for turntables. I even went online to look for turntables, and that's when I discovered that the industry standard was the Technics 1200 turntable, which I ended up buying at Jimmy's.
Oh, okay.
I bought one year, and the other the coming year, the year after, I mean. So there's a journey to it, and the reason why I decided to be like, okay, let me try to DJ as a hip hop DJ, like put the elements in scratch, mix, and cut. The reason was one time I at times I love walking, taking walks and listening to music. So I was listening to a Dilated People's project. I don't know the name of the album. There's one song called Nightlife. I wish I had the clip, but I would play you the particular scratch pattern which I listened, and then I was like, no, I have to start doing this. Yeah, there's a point which the music breaks down and it does a
Something
simple
else.
scratch,
Yeah.
but that's what hooked me. So from then on, I got into the journey, bought turntables, bought a mixer, and started practicing at home. I would practice at home, and I believe practice never ends. I'm still practicing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching your there's a set that you did recently where the theme was money.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was like, oh my God, like for you to find all those, like it takes a lot of research, and that
Yeah.
tells you how dedicated someone is to their craft.
Yeah.
Because if you've taken time to listen to all those records and you know which songs have that particular theme, and so you are weaving something, and then that's just on another level. So and you rarely see that kind of mastery, because nowadays I think. There's too much, want to play music for the people.
Yeah.
But there isn't, and we'll talk about places where you just want to listen to good music. You don't want, Niger has its place and its time, but if you just want to listen to good music and discover music, are there places like that?
No, well,
I know with COVID, lots of places
with COVID, things
have
have
closed
changed.
down.
I don't even know what to tell you. I don't even know what the
Yeah.
scene looks like anymore. But to bring you back to COVID, that set
Yeah.
was inspired by COVID
Yeah.
because I was broke. Yeah. In the year 2020, I think, or 2020, I met some people. I was actually playing at Jay's. You remember Jay's?
Yes, I remember Jay's. I've
they-
been to Jay's a couple of times.
Yeah,
That's on
so-
Wayaki Way.
Yeah. I think it's no more.
Yes,
yeah.
they had some controversy, and so it closed.
So what happened was, I used to play for Rashid, the one who used to do Thursday Night Live. So
Mm-hmm.
if he has a band that is playing something relative or close to hip hop, he would call me to do the fill-in sets.
Okay.
So I was playing one time. I was playing a serious hip hop set, and some guy approached me and he was like, "Oh, we are from the UK. We are doing a show. Would you like to come and play for us?" So I ended up playing for them
Mm-hmm.
a 1 hour set. And later, what happened was when they went back, COVID hit. So whatever
Yeah.
plans we had didn't end up happening.
Yeah.
But one of the guys runs up like an online site where they interview collectors,
Mm-hmm.
and then they also let you play. So they asked me to do a theme, and I was like, okay, since I'm broke,
Yeah. Might as well.
let's deal with money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's really good because I mean, despite the havoc that COVID has wreaked on the entertainment industry and your ability to play in the places where people meet, been able to find avenues online. So we sadly we have to end because
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this conversation, but sadly we have to
Mm.
end. But you can find Sam, I think on Mixcloud. He's also on Instagram, also on Facebook. So it's Sam the Digga. So that's SAM there, and Digga is DIGGA, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
DIGGA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. So you can find him. Follow him. He has some awesome. If you're a hip hop head, he's has a awesome collection on Mixcloud. But he also runs the vinyl collectors. There's a huge community of vinyl collectors in Kenya. It's on Facebook. If you're interested and this appeals to you, he's one of the admins, and so you can join that group. So
Yeah.
thank you for tuning in. I hope this was fun for you as it was for us.
Yeah, that's
Don't
fine.
forget to subscribe to if you haven't, don't forget to subscribe to my podcast on any of the podcasting platforms or even on YouTube. And we're coming towards the end of the season, and so I have like one more, two more guests, and then we'll call it a wrap. But until next time, bye bye.